So back in Sheffield, and maybe for the final time with Kell Brook, which would be a bit of a moment because he's had some great nights here.
Yeah, he's had a long career. You know, I remember our first fight with him at the Hillsborough Leisure Centre in front of about 1,100, packed it was. And bringing him to the arena, which was a big move at the time against Matthew Hatton. We sold 8,000 tickets and hasn't looked back really. Some great fights for Kell here. And I just feel that after this fight, he's going to move on to either a calm fight in a stadium or probably go stateside and seek one of those big names, either at 154 or 147 pounds.
You mentioned his name. What is going on with that, Brook Hearn?
I think Hearn has two options. He has the Terence Crawford fight and he has the Kell Brook fight. I'm pushing only one way, and that is the bigger fight, the bigger money fight, the fight that his people want, as in us Brits, the fight that will define a legacy in this country by creating an iconic event. But the Crawford fight is, you know, he's a world champion, but it's now or never, I think, for the Kell Brook fight. You know, I think Amir, in the back of his head, thinks, you know, win or lose against Crawford, the Brook fight will always be there. I don't think we can look at it like that anymore, because Kell, after this fight, if he beats Zarafa, will jump into a Jarrett Hurd, will rematch Errol Spence, will fight Sean Porter again, will fight Danny Garcia, will fight Jesse Vargas. So anything can happen. So I really think it's now or never. And there is only one fight I think both guys should take next, and that's one that this country has wanted for a very long time.
It would appear that he doesn't want the fight. I mean, why would you think that he would pick Crawford ahead of Brook? Because if you do
half the money as well.
If you do the risk versus reward equation,
well, I think
then that's higher risk, lower reward.
Yeah, there is definitely part of Amir that would like to win another world title, and obviously he can't do that against Kell Brook. But if he beats Kell Brook, you know, he only puts his price up for the Terence Crawford fight anyway. I just think Brook Hearn is such a great fight. It's brilliant 50-50, clash of styles, the War of the Roses. It's everything. So, you know, it's a bit of an awkward one because, you know, the offers are in and I'm only pushing one way. If he takes Crawford, he takes Crawford. But there's only one fight I want Amir Khan to take next.
How much can you do? I mean, you've got both of them under contract.
I've done all I can. I mean, you know, at some point, if a guy doesn't want to take a fight, he doesn't take it. And I don't think Amir is scared of Kell Brook. You know, I think there's a great deal on the table. But I can't do any more, you know, and I will have failed if I don't get these two in the ring, and I'll be disappointed. But I can't physically do any more. You know, I'm putting the money up, I'm putting the dates up. It's the right time. I now represent both fighters, so it should be done and it should be happening. And there's not one person in boxing that doesn't think it should be happening.
It's interesting you describe it as that you would feel like you had failed. I was going to ask you that. Would that be, I mean, you know this business inside out, and some things cannot be done as it turns out, and there have been many fights down the years that haven't ended up happening, but you would feel that you failed.
I would, because my job is to put on the super fights. This is a super fight. There shouldn't be any excuse why this fight doesn't happen. You know, but ultimately, if I can't get it over the line, I can't get it over the line. And sometimes that's down to even me not putting the right deal up, which I completely disagree with. And actually, I don't even think it's necessarily about the money. The money's there. The money it's big enough for everybody in this pot. But you know, it's not a job where you sort of reflect over weeks and months and years about a fight that's fallen through, and you know, you get down in the dumps and you think you failed because the next one is Joshua Wilder or Joshua Fury, and you make another big fight, or Usyk Bellew, and then all of a sudden you've kind of forgot about the one that slipped through the net. But I just feel like it frustrates me that we can't make this fight because it shouldn't be that difficult.
I mean, what will the relationship be like with Amir Khan if this doesn't happen? I mean, Kell Brook in there described it in his playful kind of way as he's mugged you off, Eddie.
Yeah.
I mean, would you feel that he has?
Not really, because we didn't sign him. We signed him believing that it would be easier to make a Kell Brook fight. That's actually true. I didn't sign him thinking we definitely had the fight in the bag. Amir's going to take the fight he wants to take. and we've got a good relationship, and I won't fall out with him. I just won't agree with him, and I'll be disappointed, and I think the country would be disappointed, and fight fans would be disappointed. If you did a poll, as good as Terence Crawford is, if you did a poll about which fight fans prefer, like it's a landslide. So I just think that maybe there's the argument of if you lose to Crawford, you lose to a pound for pounder. If you lose to Brook, does it affect your legacy? If you don't fight Brook, that's going to affect your legacy, walking around here, So, and you could do it once, twice, 3 times. It's a brilliant fight.
Do you think it's maybe the case that, I don't believe for a second that he's scared of Terence Crawford or Kell Brook either. That's just not the way that fighters are wired. But do you think that possibly he looks at this and just thinks, there's a chance I will lose to either of these two. They're very good fighters. They're both tough fights. And he just cannot entertain the idea of living the rest of his life having lost to Kell Brook. He doesn't think it's going to happen, but he knows that it might happen.
Yeah, I think there is an element of that, and there is certainly an element of, if I lose to Crawford, I could fight Brook after. I disagree with that. That's not happening. It's now or never. But I do think losing to Kell Brook would eat away to Amir Khan. It would eat away at either of them. If Kell Brook lost to Khan, he'd struggle to live with that, and vice versa. But isn't that how all big fights should be? Surely we shouldn't have the mentality of, yeah, but if I lose to him, it's him. No. Every fight should be devastating to lose. And by the fear of having to live with that loss and the fear that strikes you with, that tells you one thing. This is a massive fight. And that's why this fight is so big. There is so much personal rivalry. There is so much history. There is so much bad blood that it's on a knife edge. And I know that when those two come together in a head-to-head and when they meet in opposite corners of the ring, the whole country will be waiting, going, I can't believe it's on. What is going to happen? No one knows what's going to happen. We have no idea who'll win the fight. Everyone thought Amir Khan would win. Then he didn't look so good against Vargas. So now Kell Brook's a slight favourite. Maybe he don't look great against Zarafa. Maybe he looks brilliant against Zarafa. But it's a 50-50 fight. But the fear of losing just goes to show you how big this fight is.
If you had to predict right now whether you think it's going to happen or not, where would you stand on it as of this moment?
I would actually say
last thing he said to you?
I spoke to Amir yesterday, I spoke to his lawyers this morning. They're looking at both offers, they're weighing it all up. I would say it's 50-50. If you want an answer, I would say I don't think he'll take the Brook fight. But I think it's very, very marginal. Very marginal. We've improved our offer, and I can't improve it anymore. It's a fortune. And I think it could swing either way. Listen, Terence Crawford might turn around tomorrow, top rank, and go, we ain't got any more time to waste. We're fighting someone else. And then all of a sudden, it's the only fight, So on paper, it should be an easy decision. But boxing doesn't always work out like that.
No, I think I think it's fair to say that. It's kind of emblematic in a way of the position you're now in. Matchroom have done a lot in the last few years. And the downside of that is that people will now assume that you can basically make anything happen, particularly when they see that you've got these two fighters. Obviously you understand that, don't you?
Yeah, the expectation levels are through the roof. Even this show on Saturday, some people are saying to me, this is the worst show they've ever seen. I'm like, it's a really good card. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, I expect Brook to steamroll through Zarafa, but, Kelly against Avician, John O'Carroll against Fremoir, Fowler in a big step up. This is a strong, strong card. And you go to Italy, where we've launched, say, Matchroom Italy, and, again, the UK fight fans say, this is a weak card. You go to Italy, I was like a superhero. They've never seen anything like it. So the expectation levels of the British fight fans is so intense, but probably a good thing for me because it keeps me on my toes. I want to deliver. I want to prove them wrong. I want to make the fights they don't think I can make. Usyk Bellew is a good example of that. He'll never make Usyk Bellew. He just gives his fighters easy touches. Bang, Usyk Bellew. Whoa. But that's quickly forgotten, by the way. You know, I mean, some of the stuff around Fury Wilder was, when did Hearn last put on a big fight? It's like about 3 weeks ago, Usyk Bellew. Yeah, well, what about other than that? You know, it's like, and also, people talk about Fury Wilder being this heavyweight classic. I mean, did they not watch Joshua Klitschko? I mean, completely different fights. But the pressure's on us because we are top of the tree, particularly in the UK, and sometimes people don't like that, but they want. That's why they're called fans. And without fans, you wouldn't get the big fights because there'd be no one to make them for. And the fans are the people that are buying the tickets, that are buying the pay-per-views, that are spending the time debating the sport on social media, making it more visible, making it more talked about. So we have to do what they want. Don't always agree with them, and they certainly won't always agree with me. But I respect them, and they keep me on my toes, and they keep me wanting to make these fights.
I mean, the boxing boom the last few years is amazing, because I think about when I came into this full time, and that was about 7 years ago, and at that point...
Probably about the same as me.
At that point, there were too many fighters and not nearly enough TV. And now it's the other way around. I mean, is it, you know, you look at the amount of shows you're doing now in the UK and in the USA, but you've got to be careful with your stable. You can't just sign anybody. And it stretches you. It stretches everybody. I mean, across the board, is it sustainable, do you think?
I believe it is. It's all about building the right team. It's about building and delegating in the right way as well. I see people comment saying, oh, you know, you'll start to water down your shows by having, I mean, we're going to have over 56 shows a year. So with Italy, Germany, Canada, America, UK, there is that risk. There is that risk. But it's what you want to be. It's where you want to take the sport. I don't want to be a big promoter in the UK. I want to be the biggest promoter in the world. I want Matchroom to put on the biggest fights all over the world. I want to grow the sport of boxing all over the world in territories where they told me we couldn't. So that's my aim. That's maybe me, my ego or my selfishness, but that's what I want to do for our business and for the sport. So sometimes something might suffer, but you've got to stay on top of it. You've got to delegate in the right way, and you've got to live it 24/7. I can't work any harder. It's impossible. You might outbrain me, you know, you may out-hustle me. I doubt it. But you won't outwork me. You won't, because I can't work any harder. I can't physically do it without conking out and keeling over. But I'm prepared to do it because I love the sport, I love the business. How long I'll do it for, I don't know. Maybe in 3 or 4 years I'll turn around and go, I can't do this anymore. Boxing done. But the problem with boxing is it's like a disease. You know, it takes over you and you can't let it go. You know? The business, the sport, the fighters, the moments, the adrenaline, the passion, the deals, everything. So on one hand, you look at it and you say, God, this business is such a pain in the arse. And on the other hand, you look at it and you go, what do I do about this? How lucky are we to be working in this sport? And everybody who works in sport has got the bug, has got the disease, whether they know it or not. So it's very difficult to leave. And I just want to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know, our aim is to be the #1 promoters in the world. And I believe we're there. We're not clear-cut front runners, but I believe we're there. But I want to be clear-cut front runners. I want to take it to another level. And we're hungry to do that. And the fighters that we represent, we won't let down. We'll give them the opportunities. We'll build them in the right way. There'll be mistakes on the way, of course. But, you know, generally, you can't moan. If you're a fight fan, you shouldn't moan right now about your sport. It's in a great place. If you're a fighter, what a time. More broadcasters, more money than ever, more promoters trying to make big fights. You know, like you say, when you come in 7 years ago, it was dead. We were sitting there in leisure centres doing 8 and 10 rounders with 400 people, you know? So look at us now, we're flying, but we've got to keep it going because sports go through peaks and troughs all the time. And if we're lazy, if we don't provide the fans with what they want, we'll hit another trough, and we don't want that.